last week against this application to have the charges heard in jurisdictions where the alleged offences occurred. Judge Skuman also ruled that the authorization certificate to centralize all charges was valid. The defence is challenging the jurisdiction of the Port Elizabeth High Court, as some of the 97 sex offences were committed in various parts of the country, some abroad. Jadely Polzer is at the High Court. Jadely, how is it that all this time we've been covering the trial and up to now we haven't dealt with the substance of the charges?
Well, Desiree, it's been a lot of applications brought by the defence, a lot of submissions, and then I suppose Judge Omar Skuman had to really deal with all those submissions that the defence lawyer Peter Doberman has brought. The latest one now being a leave to appeal application to, challenge her ruling on the jurisdiction matter. Like you said, he wants to challenge the jurisdiction, saying that the Port Elizabeth High Court does not have jurisdiction to hear all of the charges, and that of that 97 charges, all in total, that Timothy Omotoso and his co-accused Lusanda Solani and Zukiswa Sito faced, 63 are main charges, 34 alternative, but only 7 counts of that 63 occurred in Port Elizabeth. So really challenging, the judge, saying, how is it possible that this court in Port Elizabeth can hear all the charges, all the offences and all the counts that are levelled against Timothy Omotoso and his co-accused? And really saying that the judge did not apply her mind, that if she really had applied her mind, she would have granted them, that authority, and that the court or that the trial could have been heard in several of the area codes across the country in their respective courts.
And of course, as Peter Doberman goes through these motions and he's seemingly having the upper hand, it almost, in terms of perception, it almost weakens the other side, doesn't it?
Well, just chatting to State Prosecutor Ndebe Ntelwa, he was telling me that, this was just delaying tactics by the defence, and even going as far as saying that perhaps the defence are also trying to tire out some of the witnesses who are yet to take to the stand. Because by now we thought that the trial being de novo, we would have seen the witnesses starting to take to the stand. Not necessarily Cheryl Zondi, because she does not have to be the first witness, but witnesses take to the stand and the trial will commence. But since the start of the trial 2 weeks ago, we've seen several applications and submissions by the defence challenging the jurisdiction, challenging the authorization certificate that was signed by then former NPA head Sean Abrams to centralise all the charges here in Port Elizabeth, and really just going back to the drawing board. And these are issues, Desiree, that should have been dealt with during the 2 pre-trial conferences that we had last year. And the state really saying that they don't understand why it is now that the trial is de novo that we have all these submissions and applications brought by the defence.
We have a comparable case today where the accused and the accuser both come from the Western Cape in the form of former Western Cape ANC leader Marius Fransman, but they have to go back to Kimberley where the offence was apparently committed. And this is easy because it's only one person against one person. But how has the judge been able to justify why they think this authorization for the trial to take place in one jurisdiction should go ahead?
Okay, so basically, Desiree, what they are saying is that some of the offences that are levelled against Timothy Omotoso happened in several of the provinces in South Africa, such as Mpumalanga, the Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and then also overseas in Israel. So some of the counts should not be heard in PE, as these witnesses are not presiding in Port Elizabeth. They're presiding in other parts of the country, and saying that this is not fair that Timothy Omotoso should be, kept behind bars in St. Albans prison. He has been remanded into custody and he's been in prison for 2 years now. So saying that this is really, really unfair to the accused and also to his co-accused, Zukiswa Sito and Lusanda Solani, that some of these cases should actually be heard in their respective provinces. But When I spoke to the NPA, they're saying that this is virtually impossible and logistically this is a nightmare. You simply cannot have the trial being split in several court cases across the country, and that it needs to be centralized in Port Elizabeth because Timothy Omotoso was arrested at the Port Elizabeth airport 2 years ago.
Jaitley, since the beginning of this new trial, we've mostly been talking to you from outside the courts. Has there been a change in terms of the restrictions or allowing of media inside the courts?
So as it stands now, none of the media houses can take the proceedings live, Desiree. We have been going inside court, showing you snippets of Timothy Omotoso and the co-accused coming inside court, sitting down. But once Judge Irma Skuman takes her seat, unfortunately, all broadcast cameras are not allowed inside court and we'll have to cross outside. So that's why some of the viewers have been seeing some of my tweets of Timothy Omotoso. I've been tweeting a lot, showing you what's happening inside courtroom A, but doing live crossings outside. And I know that some of the media organizations have submitted applications to have, a place inside court once witnesses take to the stand so that they can take the trial live.
Jaitley, we know you're going to rush back to court. Thank you so much for that update. We'll go back to Jaitley as soon as we're able to. Right now, Blaine is going to be talking to Ayanda.